Hey everybody, it's your girl, Dr. Letitia, and welcome back to my podcast, More Than Matters, where we talk about everything concerning Black lives because we know that Black lives more than matters. Tonight, I am so excited because I have a very special guest. This is Jus Jamaal. And, this is definitely a full circle moment for us because Jus Jamaal and I grew up in a very small town called Roselle, New Jersey. And Roselle stand up, Roselle versus
What?
everybody. Oh, we definitely rep Roselle. But it's just so interesting because we ended up going into the same field of work. Okay. So Jus Jamaal for almost 2 decades has served his community. Right now, he is a social worker in the greater Atlanta area, but that is not where his community service starts. He has worked in juvenile justice. He's worked as a parole officer. He's worked in criminal justice. He's also worked with the HIV/AIDS population. He is now an LGBTQ activist. He's a proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And he is also what he considers a proud out gay Black man. So tonight we are going to chop it up with Jus Jamaal and see his thoughts on a couple hot button topics. So Jus Jamaal, welcome to
Thank you.
What Matters.
Thank you so much for having me, sister. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem. So let's jump right in. First, audience, as you can see, I have on my shirt the amazing great ancestor Nina Simone. She said so many pivotal, important, genius level things. But what I want to start with is a quote that she said that has positively impacted my life. And what she said was, "I'll tell you what freedom is to me, no fear." So as I talked to Jus Jamaal, and he mentioned when I was asking him how he would like to be introduced, that he is a proud out gay man, I thought that that was a really good, important place to start, right? Because in the climate that we live in, even though it's 2020, right, the level of intolerance is at an all-time high, right, despite education and access to education. So, Jamaal, can you tell me what no fear as a Black gay man means to you?
It means walking in pride without fear of judgment. Okay. And I have to start back with my coming out story. If you don't mind, I can condense
Absolutely,
it.
Please.
Because all praise is due to God, first and foremost, but also my parents for having such loving, caring parents. So flashback to about 1994. This is before cell phones and all that good stuff. So I was on the house phone now with a date. And unbeknownst to me, my father was downstairs eavesdropping, okay? So he overheard me say, "I love you" on the phone. And I didn't really know what love was. I was just telling him the date, whatever. But telling him the date, I loved them, sweet little nothings, And I hung up the phone. And as soon as I hung up the phone, I swear, like within 5 seconds, my father was at like the foot of the stairs. And he said, "Jamaal, were you on the phone with your brother?" And the thing about it was, my father knew that it wasn't my brother.
Okay.
But okay. I guess he needed a way to introduce the question.
Bring the conversation up.
So here I go with my big mouth and just being fearless and just whatever, being Jus Jamaal. I was like, no. So then my father asked me straight up, "Are you engaged in a homosexual lifestyle?" And I told him yes. And I think he was shocked. I think that he was prepared for me to lie to him. Okay. He was not prepared for me to be honest. And when I told him yes, all he could literally do was just say, "Oh, okay," and he walked away. Later on that evening, I went downstairs. I came out to my mom during dinner time. My mom was straight with it. And like I said, this was 1994. Yeah. So for well over close to 30 years now, my parents have been so accepting and so nurturing and just so loving, of me. So carrying that has allowed me to live with no boundaries and just walking in pride and walking with no fear. You know what I mean? So that's what being free to me is like, just living fearless, walking without apologies. I'm unapologetically Black and gay and proud, and I live in it.
I love that. I love that. And I think that is such an important message because so many people, you know, you talk about almost 30 years ago, right? That experience, but guess what? There are still people where their parents are still ousting them, right? I have clients who are teens that are being sent to other states or are homeless in 2020 because they're coming out to their parents and their parents are not accepting, right? So that's something, you know, in the Black community, we absolutely have to start to address. And I think we have to address it in the Black church. What do you think about that? Do you feel like the Black church and just Black families in general adequately show love to our brothers and sisters and, you know, and show acceptance and all that good stuff, understanding? Or do you think we still have a mountain to climb in that area?
I think the Black church is accepting.
Okay.
But it's with limitations. They're accepting if you don't admit that you're gay. Like okay. They cool with knowing that the choir director is a feminine acting, but he hasn't said he's gay.
Okay.
You know, they're cool with, you know, a member of the usher board. You know, they know that he hasn't been married. They've never seen him with a woman, but he hasn't come out to them yet. So it's almost like in the church community, they're okay with it as long as you don't come out with it. So it's almost like you're tolerating.
Don't ask, don't tell, right? That was in '94, coincidentally, right?
There you go.
Don't ask, don't tell. Okay.
There you go. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you're tolerated, basically. You understand what I'm saying? But not really accepted, you know, if you come out. You know, because then if you come out, you're admonished. You know what I mean? Okay. And so that's definitely a tall mountain to climb. And in our community even, because at the end of the day, right, I'll say this much. You could take the most hoodest of dudes, right? But they still hold on to some level of religion, whether it be Islam, whether it be Christianity, they still hold on to that. So we already know with religion, the homosexual thing is already admonished. Okay, you know, it's considered a sin and all of that. But it's like you can have 1 million kids by different women, have sex before marriage. You can steal, lie, cheat, kill. But if you're gay, that's like the largest sin of all. So
that's the worst of the worst.
There you go. So that's what we're living with. And it's just generations, you know, of homophobia in the Black gay community that led to us having to repress who and what we are and fear of ridicule. So it's a huge mountain to climb, but we have decades of undoing. It's going to take more than just Pose and all these other shows on TV to undo that. Because I'm going to tell you something too. I'm sure there are plenty of mothers who are fans of the show Pose, but they damn sure don't want their kids to be gay.
Absolutely. And what does that mean, right? What message does that send to our children? What message does it send, period, that our children can't be just who they are and loved and accepted for who they are? You know, I think that in our communities, it's like you said, it's okay to be everything but gay, because that's like a big sin. Even though the Bible doesn't say that, but that's like a big sin, right? Like that's the worst of the worst. And like you mentioned, so many people struggle because they're not really able to live in their truth, right? And allow God to do the judging, right? I think folks are doing too much judging, and God is not able to do what he's here to do.
Absolutely. And I think too, Letitia, homosexuality to me, just my personal opinion, has been so demonized. People automatically think about the sexual acts, and then people also go into the whole pedophilia thing. You know, it's just so demonized, because then they think that you like little kids and all this stuff. You know, keep them away from my kids. I like grown ass men. Okay, ain't nothing that a little kid can do for me. You know, I love children, but I'm not in love with them. There's nothing that a little child can do for me. You know what I'm saying? So I just think the homosexuality has also been demonized so much, you know, in the media and in our community that, like I said, it's going to take a lot of time to undo all of that. So that's why you have so many kids who are still struggling with this. Do I come out or do I just stay in the closet? Like you know, it's a toss-up for a lot of them, unfortunately.
You know what? And I think, like you said, I think it's time, but I also think, Jamaal, that it's education, right? So it's lack of education, or, you know, people getting their information from social media, right? Or getting their information from certain types of news outlets and not really doing the research for themselves. And it's difficult because, you know, our people perish why? For lack of knowledge. for
Right.
lack of knowledge. But you touched on something that I wanted us to talk about tonight. So let's jump right in.
Okay.
So, you know, for the past 2 years, there has been a heavy push to add a P to the end of LGBTQ, right? So these individuals, right, are members that support pedophilia, okay, and want to add pedophilia to the LGBTQ community. What are your thoughts on that? Because it's been.
I think that's absolutely disgusting. Wow. And that goes back to what I just said, the demonization of the homosexual community in terms of, you know, us being so deviant. You know what I mean? Like we want, I think I can speak collectively for everybody gay that we want no parts of that. No parts of that. That's criminal. That's criminal. You know, you're committing a heinous act against a child. Like that's absolutely criminal, and you take that over there. That is not a part of our community. That's not a part of our community. Not a part of our community.
I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like, you know, when there are movements, right, whether they're social justice movements, any movements for any type of civil rights, right, you're going to have advancements, but you're also going to have what I call the detractors.
Yep.
And I think that this whole movement, you know, definitely detracts from the LGBTQ community. But I want to talk about something, because you know, I talk on the show about my daughter Jada and her godfather and my mentor, Dr. Cleo Monalgo. So Dr. Cleo Monalgo does not use the terms LGBTQ to describe Black people. What he says is that he categorizes them as same gender loving. Okay, and the reason why, or if the person is trans or something like that, that's one thing. But he has felt and has done a lot of research about the LGBTQ community, similarly to the feminist movement, sometimes using Black people, Black numbers, etc., to advance the cause, but kind of leaving Black folks in the shadows. What do you feel about that? How does that sit with you, Jamaal?
Okay, well, we can even go back to the Stonewall movement.
Okay.
The Stonewall movement started because of a Black transgender woman.
Yes.
Okay? But let other people tell it.
Yes.
It was people that look like this and not like this. So there has been an erasure of brown in the movement. We have been set aside, pushed to the back, and white gay men have been, for all intents and purposes, the face of the movement. Yes. It's because they were the ones in power. You can look no further than Hollywood. Hollywood is run by white gay men. The music industry, white gay men. You know what I mean? So it's because they had the power. You understand what I'm saying? So therefore, they were pushed to the forefront. You know, and I will tell people this. A lot of folks may not even know, if you're not really in the community like that, or if you don't have a gay friend, the community is very segregated. Very segregated. Like, we have our Black gay clubs, or our Black gay night, or our Latin gay night. And then the whites may have their night. You know, there may be certain instances where we come together and commingle, but for the most part, the community is very, very segregated. And that's from everywhere, from New York to Atlanta to wherever you are. It's just very segregated. Very seldom do we really mix together. The only time we really do mix together is doing gay pride parades.
You know what, but see, I think that that's a greater issue, right? Because there's a disparity. I think about what you said earlier, where you talked about your work in HIV and AIDS, right? So I'm the chair of the board of directors for an HIV AIDS program, right? And the disparity is huge, right? The you know, programs that are in the inner city communities are very rarely funded, right? But the you know, gay men's health crisis and all of these agencies get millions, right? Because their client profile is very different than the client you will see in inner city North, where the agency that I'm on the board of is, right? So the segregation is problematic, and it's important to know that even within the LGBTQ community, there is not only segregation, but there's also pervasive racism, right?
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? And do you think we can do something about that?
Honestly, it's almost like one of those things, right? We can even equate it to what's going on right now with the socialist movement that's going on. Okay. Just to be honest, a lot of white folks don't want to let go of their power. It just is what it is.
Say that one more time.
A lot of white people do not want to let go of their power.
That's right.
You know, it renders them defenseless. You know, So it's almost like, well, what about me? No, what about you? You've been at the forefront of this for decades. Let someone else shine. You understand what I'm saying? So unfortunately, when the powers that be just don't want to let go, or at least want to loosen the reins a little bit to let others in, you're just going to always have this problem. You know, it's just unfortunate. White gay men, they have a lot of influence. Yes. They run so many things. They just do. And they have the money, they have the influence, and a lot of them just are not trying to let go. They're not trying to loosen the reins of that power that they have. So it kind of, like I said, it renders us defenseless. So then we have to formulate our own organizations, you know, to have a seat at the table. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So that's why it leads to us having our own organizations based on our color or creed, if you will.
Agree. I agree with you. And I think that we saw a lot of this during the month of June, right? So June is Pride Month, right? And so I saw, you know, a lot of positive posts, right, about the Black Lives Matter movement, etc., and really having that be at the forefront. But I also saw some people who are not too happy about the month of June being overshadowed. That was the word I said, used, overshadowed by the Black Lives Matter movement. What do you think about that? And did you see some of that?
You know what, for all intents and purposes, starting from March, you know, from what happened over in Minnesota on down to other months, I mean, just about every, you know, holiday had to take a back seat to Black Lives Matter. And guess what? I'm going to take a back seat because at the end of the day, I'm a Black man first. When you see me walking down the street, okay, you see Black, okay? You may see gay later on with some mannerisms, but you see Black first. So I don't mind. You understand what I'm saying? And this is my thing. Why can't the two coexist together? That's an issue that I have too with the Black community in general. Y'all gonna talk about us because I'm one of us, okay? It's too much division. It's too much division. Black Lives Matter, Black Gay Lives Matter, Black trans lives matter. They can all coexist under the same umbrella. And I've heard people say like, well, you know what? You know, like one struggle at a time. No, we can all do this at the same damn time.
We all need to rise, right? We all need to rise. And we are one community, right? Sexual preferences and identity and all of those things should not be so pervasive that we're completely separated because of them, right? We are one community. And I like what you said about the fact that you're a Black man first, right? Because I see a lot of propaganda, right, in order to really sit that in the back. So I saw a couple of brothers, it was Pride 2019, and they had these shirts on, and I was not feeling the shirt, Jamal. The shirt said, "Gay is the new Black."
Oh, okay.
Gay is the new Black.
Okay.
I was not feeling those shirts.
And were those brothers, were they Black? Were the brothers wearing them Black?
They were Black. They were brothers. They were soul brothers.
Okay. So they're saying gay. So, okay. Now, I'll say this, right? Even though I don't agree with the shirt, but it does appear to me that being gay is in vogue. Like I said, with, you know, Pose, you know, with Pose and all these other shows. And then you even have that show called Legendary on HBO, which they're delving into the ballroom culture. So there has been, but for the past couple of years, there has been a lot of curiosity, if you will, you know, peaked with the straight community in terms of what's going on with gay people. So I kind of get where the shirt is coming from, although I don't agree with it. I do feel like to a certain degree, like being gay is the end thing. Like people want to know more about it. You understand what I'm saying? But but once again, though, but it's almost like everybody wants to know about it, but don't nobody want to be it.
Well, and that goes back to and I think that the shirt really has so many meanings, right? Because I saw that the meaning that you just attributed to it, but I also saw it from the perspective of struggle and discrimination, right? So it's like, and that's the part I think that was problematic. That's the part that came up for me when I saw the shirt, and I'm like, okay, but a person may know your sexuality, right? And they may, but they're definitely, without a doubt, gonna understand your race, right? Like you cannot conceal, hide, transform the fact that you're Black. You're Black, that's it. You're still Black. You know what I mean? So that's where I took it. But I think you said something that was really important. Do you feel that people want to be connected to the power of the LGBTQ community? And so that's where some of the intrigue may come from? What do you think about that?
I think so, because I think they see, once again, because you're the powers that be, These rich white men running everything. Trust
Okay.
me, the LGBTQ movement, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. A lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of attention is poured into it. So yeah, to latch on to that, to me, it makes perfect sense. You understand what I'm saying? Because you may get a little piece of the attention too, just by default. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I will say this though too, though, Tisha, in terms of, you know, gay being the new black, I think it's important that we don't compare struggles, because that's something that I see a lot. That's something that I see a lot of too. It's like my pain is greater than yours. You understand what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, pain is pain. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and there have been instances where gay people have been hung. Gay people have been, you know, beat. So there are like some correlations in terms of what has happened to black people to what has happened to gay people. But once again, we have to be very, really careful when we start comparing pain. My thing is pain is pain. Period. Yeah. We all are hurt. So what are we going to do about it? You know what I mean? Exactly. And to me, it's strength in unity and weakness in division. And I just find that the black community in general, especially as it comes to gay issues, we're so divided. We're so divided. And we could just do so much more if we came together. We could really, really fight the world, and we could really be something big if we could just come together.
Well, I think that that's a good point when you talk about coming together, because one of the things that I wanted us to talk about tonight is the Black Lives Matter organization, right? So it's important, listeners, that you understand that there is a difference between the organization Black Lives Matter and, you know, the mantra Black Lives Matter, right? And individuals wanting to stand up for the rights of Black people, because Black Lives Matter is a, you know, very, very powerful, very well-funded organization, and a lot of Black folks, myself included, I'm a little concerned about some of the tenets of the Black Lives Matter organization, right? So one thing, Jamaal, that I saw is that I did not see Black men at the forefront of leadership for the movement, right? So what I did see was Black women, Black children, and the Black men that were displayed or utilized or on the website, etc., were the victims of police brutality, right? So the dead Black men. And then I did some digging, Jamaal, and I looked at, you know, basically what would be their, you know, manifest destiny. Like, this is the organization, this is what we stand for, this is our motto, etc. And so they said something that was very interesting. They talked about, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but they talked about, you know, women, children, and families. They did not use Black men. What do you think about that?
The erasure of Black men from the forefront of the Black Lives Movement is by design. It's not by accident. It's not by accident. Especially when the majority of the victims are Black men.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
This is not done by accident. And even I think about, it was a it was a magazine cover. I don't know if it was Rolling Stone or New Yorker, one of them, that had a woman with a child. And I was like, well, where's the man? But it's all done by design, on purpose. I honestly don't think they want a Black male to lead anything, okay? And I could even take it back to, I feel like the civil rights movement for me, okay, died a little bit when Martin Luther King died, okay? People lost their leader. It's like Jesse Jackson kind of crept in there, but he never really made it to where he needed to be. Louis Farrakhan was around, but because of some of his anti-Semitic and anti-gay rhetoric, he didn't quite make it either. You know what I mean? So we had to kind of poke in and poke out, and then even like people look to Barack Obama as a leader. But no, he's trying to lead the United States. He can't be a leader for civil rights. You can't serve to, you just can't. So with that being said, I almost feel like the powers that be, they don't want a Black male to lead us into the sunset, because they know that if they got a strong Black male to lead us, we could really fuck some shit up. So trust me, it's all by design, because they saw what a strong Black male lead could do. They saw what Malcolm did. They saw what Martin did. You understand what I'm saying? And they killed them off. You can even take it back to what they did to Fred Hampton and the work he was doing in Chicago. They killed him off. So trust me, the power that be,
party, right? We have school lunches right now because of the Black Panther Party.
There you go.
start right now because of the Black Panther Party. And, you know, so many Black folks don't even know that. I mean, you can even go back. Look at the work that Marcus Garvey did, early 1900s.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm saying it's like Black males in position of power just are not lauded, are not encouraged, right? And so the Black Lives Matter movement is one thing, but the organization is really promoting something else. And I think people have to recognize the differences and be able to pull these things out and promote Black male leadership.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's needed. It's needed. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's all by design. There's a fear of a Black male lead. They don't want it because they know that if we get somebody up there, things will turn around. Things will turn around. We're gonna pick up a lot of traction. They don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want that.
Do you think that Black folks are ready for a Black male gay leader? Right? Now, I want you to think about this before you answer, right? Because, I mean, we grew up. Now, we're not going to age ourselves, okay? Jamal already said 1994, and inside of the screen, we're like, oh, okay, now people doing math to tell me where we are, okay? So, we were only 6 and 7 in 1994.
That's the final answer.
But, you know, I think about us, right, and growing up in the 80s and 90s, right? Hip-hop culture, you know, huge part of our upbringing, right, and how we identified, right? I never thought that there would be a time that you would have a Lil Nas X in 2020, right? An openly Black, right? Masculine, gay man. You understand what I'm saying? Who's out and proud and, you know, talking about who he is and etc. You know, that was not something that we thought would be a reality in the 80s and 90s. In fact, I remember, you know, the Wendy Williams radio show.
Oh, Lord.
You know, all her salacious gossip and one big
the gay rapper and the gay this and the gay that.
Exactly, right?
I remember.
So do you think the world is ready for a Black gay male leader? Do you think our community is ready for that, Jamal?
I'm going to say this, Letitia, right? Sometimes you have to crawl before you walk. And you have to accept who people may want to bring in to break shit up a little bit before you can bring in somebody else. So I think that the community is ready for a Black lesbian to lead. Because for whatever reason, lesbianism is viewed different. And that could be a whole nother topic. You know what I mean? But something about lesbianism to a certain degree is viewed safer than being a gay man in the Black community. Like you can have the most rough dude who got, you know, a lesbian woman as his sidekick, but he don't want no gay dude around him, but he'll be with the chick. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and also think to a certain degree too, lesbianism has also been sexualized. It's supposed to be every straight man's dream to be with 2 women, you know, whatever, and all other stuff. But I think that before we have a Black gay man to lead, I think that a Black woman leading might be the first step in order to then usher in a brother to come in after her. You know, just to break it up a little. And guess what? You can see it now, like with, look, who the mayor is in Chicago. You know, Mayor Lightfoot, who's a lesbian woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you are starting to see more brothers as well, don't get me wrong, you know, in positions in political power as well. But I think particularly for your question, I have to honestly say, I don't think that we're ready. I think it's going to take a gay lesbian sister to break that shit up a little bit and then usher in a brother. I just think that's how it's just how it is.
I think that is such an interesting perspective, but I think you're right? There's something about, you know, lesbian women that is a little bit more acceptable, especially in our community, right? So I think it's the sexualization, it's the fantasy, the fetishism, all of that goes into it, you know, from straight folks, right? Where it's like, well, that's not too bad, right? But that is before God.
Right. And you know, and I'll say this. It's so funny you say that, Letitia, and thank you for making that point. That's why I'm thinking, for it to be a gay man, no. But if it's a bisexual Black man, yes. Because what straight people will say is, well, hey, at least they still like women. So it'll be probably a Black bisexual man before a Black gay man's actually leading anything. in our community.
That is something for us to also talk about in another show, because I think that there's so many issues, right, within our communities, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable,
Absolutely.
just educating, you know, terms and what they mean and all of that, right? We have to do that because so many people just are not aware. They're just not educated. They just don't see it.
They're not.
It's baffling.
It really is. It's like levels to the shit. And even like with the gay community in particular, there's a lot of oppression there. And it's almost like, how do I say this? It's almost like the masculine gay men, you know, oppress the effeminate gay men. The effeminate gay men oppress the transgenders. The transgenders oppress the sex workers. It's like just a myriad, you know, it's just
a caste system
of mess. Of mess.
You know what? I want us to talk about that when we come back together, because I think that is so true. And you said something earlier about everyone kind of wanting their struggle to be at the forefront, right? And sometimes it's easy to just lose sight of all of it because everyone is trying to be heard, right? Everyone wants the volume of their voice to be bigger than the situation. But I think at times we have to be able to look at some of the discrimination that exists within communities, right? And I think we do it in the Black community also, right? So you have, you know, Black folks in America that are from Africa, right? Then you have Black folks in America that are from the Caribbean. Right? Then you have what people are calling ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves. I'm not sure how I feel about that term.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm not too deep for that term, but I'm seeing that a lot more, right? And so there's even some hierarchy there, right? So we have to be able to pull some of these things apart, because these are the things that are bringing division, Jamal. These are the reasons we all want to forward.
And that's why, Letitia, I feel like we as a community will continue to just be here, because there's so much stuff that separates us that you don't see in other races. You know, it's just we're divided amongst just so much stuff. And I get it though, because Black can encompass a whole lot of things, but we need to know how to coexist, because once again, it's weakness in division and it's strength in unity. And the powers that be love this division. You know what I mean? Because it's no sole focus. We all are so hell-bent on our, you know, individual issues that ain't no progress really being made. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to like streamline this shit. Like, okay, like look, y'all, we all got issues, but let's streamline this shit for a greater cause. Okay? For the greater good. We got to get over this. But you're right, like it's so much. It's so much, because Black does encompass a lot. It does. Yes. It does.
Yes, it's so much. And I think that there's so many feelings about all of these things, right? Like, like you said earlier, for decades, for centuries even, right? Generations of feelings. Some of those feelings are repressed. Some of those feelings are just not even discussed, period. Right? And so what does that do in our communities in terms of our identity and how we feel about ourselves as well as other people?
Right.
And it impacts how we treat folks.
Yeah, what's the last part, Letitia? Say it again.
I said it impacts how we treat folks, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Bitter, angry, you know, because like there's a lot of pain. It's a whole lot of pain, a lot of unchecked anger that we have, a lot of unresolved issues that we have. So it comes out and manifests itself in various ways, you know, and how we treat each other. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like it manifests itself in a lot of times in this ugly ways. A lot of times it's ugly.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect segue to my last quote from, again, our great ancestor Nina Simone. And she said, "You've got to learn to leave the table when love is no longer being served."
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Got to learn to leave the table when love is no longer being served.
I love that. And see, for me, Letitia, and that goes back to what I said earlier, I don't want to be just tolerated. I want to be accepted.
Yes.
You know
I say that all the time, Jamal. Listen, I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
I want to be celebrated.
Absolutely. I know when I'm not appreciated in an environment. So I have no problem. I have no problem with stating, you know, what it is that I see and exiting stage left. You understand what I'm saying? Life is too short to just be tolerated. You know, our life here on earth isn't too long. You understand what I'm saying? So I need to be in spaces and places where I feel respected and loved and appreciated. You know, that's it. That's it. I think at the age that I'm at, you know, I remember anybody just in general, you know, we all deserve respect and love. That's it.
Right. That's right.
I think that's all our innate desires as humans, to be loved and to be respected.
That's right. I think to give love and to receive love, right? That sums it up, right? To love one another. And I think that it's recognizing, Jamal, that especially folks, right? So this audience is for Black people. This is about us. This is about our community. We cannot continue to have this division. We cannot continue to ostracize. We cannot continue to demonize or demoralize or disrespect, right? People who have the same experience in this Black skin that we do. Right? Because what I say all the time is this: people want our rhythm, but not our blues.
Absolutely. I love that quote. Absolutely.
It's huge. It's huge. So it's like, I don't have time to be focusing on who you're sleeping with. I'm focused on, are you going to be alive after that traffic stop? Are you going to go to work and be paid, fairly and equitably? Are you able to walk with a hoodie on if you want to, or do you have to be nervous about that? Those are the issues that we need to be focusing on, not some of these other issues that are causing more division than us being a collective. We are one people. We are one people. We have more in common than we have that separates us.
I agree, Letitia. I feel like it's just so many distractions. And that's why at the age I'm at too, I'm very cognizant of what I lend my energy to. There's just a lot of things that I just cannot feed into anymore because it's one big ass distraction. Because while I'm spending my time on that big ass distraction, I could be doing something else that could help my community. You understand what I'm saying? And the powers that be knows, they know us. They study us, okay? They know we love fashion. We love our liquor. We love violence. We love to laugh. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, they know that, but they know that. You understand what I'm saying? So they use all of that to distract us. Meanwhile, we're getting killed. We're getting beat. We're being maimed. You understand what I'm saying? They're using all that other stuff to distract us. And that's why, though, I will say this, Letitia, this is why the movement has gained so much traction, because guess what? We had no distractions, because guess what? Everybody was under quarantine and locked the hell at home.
That's right.
So your favorite artist wasn't performing down the street. Okay, your favorite actor, you couldn't see his movie at the movie theater because that was closed too. We were all at home. So for the first time in history, like, we all were tuned into the same shit and seeing it and seeing it. You couldn't. We had no distractions. We had no distractions. You know what I'm saying? But now that certain cities and states or whatever are now opening up, now you kind of seeing now, like, the movement's kind of losing a little bit of traction. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. But yeah, absolutely.
I think it's so important for people to not lose momentum, right? It's so important for us to keep steamrolling ahead, and one thing I was going to say, Jamal, is that, and we talked about this a little bit offline, not every person is going to lead a protest, right? Like, not every person is going to be posting 17 times on social media and doing speeches and anti-racism work, right? But whatever you can do it.
Right, do what you can. And you're right, we did talk about that, because activism, look, it's important for you to define what activism looks like to you, okay? For some people, they might be shouting Ungawa Black Power and at the front of the march. And somebody else, it could just be sending a donation, to help out with the bail fund. So it's important for you to do what you can. I feel like you have to do something. And that's my call to everybody. You have to do something. But it's up to you to define what that something looks like.
Yes. I think to do nothing is to be complicit.
Absolutely.
And an agreement, right? And
silence is acceptance. Silence is acceptance. If you're silent, you're accepting the bullshit. So
I tell people that silence is violence. I think it's
really
worse than acceptance, because it's like, you stand there while you did absolutely nothing. It's problematic, and we can't continue to do that. We can't continue to allow that. And that's why some of these things that separate us have to be put by the wayside, because we have to come together. We need all of our voices to be raised so that Black people can feel safe. Black people have the opportunities. We are the most beautiful, the most talented. And hey, maybe I'm biased, but we are completely just next level in every arena. And we have to know that. That has to be nurtured in our community. People have to recognize who we really are, right? So that we stop allowing some of these white supremacist images or rhetoric or, ingrained beliefs, be they religious, it doesn't matter, to make us feel that we are inferior. We are the original people.
Say it again. Say it
So,
again.
I want everybody listening to really embrace that and understand who we really are. Because once you know who you are, you act accordingly.
Absolutely. But see, that's why, Letitia, that's why everything goes back to the powers that be. They know exactly what they're doing. When you strip someone of their history, they have nothing to feed on. They have nothing to feed on. So it's important for us to keep obtaining the knowledge, keep having meaningful conversations.
That's right.
Keep educating one another. We have to pass it on. We have to pass it along. We have to pass it along. We have to know the foundation that we stand on. The foundations that we stand on are so rich in culture, knowledge, experience. We can't let that go. We can't lose it, Tisha. We can't. We owe it to the next generation.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Jus Jamaal, I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing with us tonight, for sharing with us. I love your perspective and your energy and your passion for our people and for all the work that you are doing. I absolutely salute you. And I look forward to our next conversation. So listeners, just so you know, Jus Jamaal is going to be a monthly guest on More Than Matters before he takes off and, forgets about us.
Yes.
He takes off and forgets about us. So I'm going to get him right
no, never.
Say, I remember when with him. So, but I thank you so much for your time this evening. I know the listeners appreciated your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, so much. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you so much. Listeners, I am with you. I am for you. My thought for you tonight as we sign off is for you to stay in peace. Peace is a birthright. It is something that is yours for the taking. So focus in this evening on you being in peace. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Good night.